good, TMG fam? It's your boy L, and I'm back with another reaction. How y'all feel? Welcome back to the channel. Salute. So listen, man, if you like me, you constantly sit around sometimes and you be thinking of different business ideas or different ways to create or develop something, or, you know what I'm saying, put something into play or whatever, bro. You know, and a lot of times, if you was like me back in the day, you think of something, it was super dope, but you never do nothing with it. And then you randomly be just moseying along one day and you see your idea somewhere, or you see something similar to the idea that you thought of, bro. You know what I mean? If you've had those type of situations happen and you pretty much just, you just had to kick your own self in the butt at that point, bro. You was just like procrastination, fam, or just coming up with excuses of reasons why you couldn't have did something back then. And a lot of stuff I thought about would have been dope. And somebody else made a better idea because I sat on my hands. You know what I mean? But this video here is not that, but it just made me think of that. So this is the 15 worst business ideas ever. 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 So I was like, ever? Ever? So I gotta see what was the worst business decisions ever. Now, one of the things you hear about a lot of times is that's where a lot of athletes go wrong. They make all this money, and then they start getting these financial advisors and these people that be pitching these business ideas, and they sink a ton of money looking for this huge return, and the business flops, and then they're left broke. And it happened, man. I think one athlete had some kind of maybe credit card wall dispensers or some kind of something. It was crazy. It was crazy. Might have been Rocket Ishmael or somebody like that, who from the Dallas Cowboys back in the day. He had a bunch of bad business decisions he made, and it ultimately messed him up, man. I think it was. But we're gonna check this video out. So if you're new to the channel, man, hit the subscribe button, join the fam, and prepare yourselves for the dope shirts Queen got coming, man. This one is Stay Solid, bro. Super, super dope. All right, so let's get to the video, man. Moment of silence for the haters. We cannot forget to address the haters, bro. Moment of silence for the haters. That's enough. Now run the likes up, baby. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Let's go.
From corporate marketing wars that fail to compromising on liquor ingredients and paying the price, we count 15 times companies have made awful decisions for greed, ignorance, or desperation. Number 15. It was 1977. Star Wars had...
Star Wars is on this list? Who messed up? Somebody probably.
Even been released when 20th Century Fox did the dumbest thing ever. They handed all merchandising rights to George Lucas. In return, all they got was a measly $20,000 at the time, but George became the head of a $3 billion plus company with reach all over the globe. Its profits continuing to...
Way to stick them in the eye. Ooh, ooh. Bro, you talk about will be kicking themselves for the rest of their lives?
Grow with each passing day. Fox had absolutely no idea what Star Wars would become, and for this blunder, they missed out on claiming one of the most lucrative media franchise trademarks ever. Number 14. Before the Cosby Show passed into the hands of NBC, becoming a huge hit right from the first season, ABC passed on their chance to get a slice of the pie. Cosby made a pitch to ABC for the show, but they wouldn't offer him a commitment without a script or pilot ready, so instead he turned to NBC, where it catapulted from third in the Nielsen ratings to first for 5 more entire seasons. It went on to become the biggest hit of the 1980s and almost single-handedly revived the sitcom genre.
Now, a lot of y'all, listen, bro, forget how you feel about Bill, all right? Because a lot of people threw up in their mouth. A lot of people have their feelings about Bill, whatever it is. I grew up on the Cosby Show, bro. That show was everything to me. Like coming home, watching it, just sitting there, like it made me think about college. You know what I'm saying? It did a lot. You know, however you feel about Bill, that's, you know what I'm saying? That's up to you. But The Show, Claire, Theo, Denise, Rudy, Cockroach. Who am I missing? Vanessa. All of them played a very important role in my life, bro. Like I said, it made me think about college. It made me look at family. It made me think about how I wanted to have my family one day. You know what I'm saying? It did a lot of things, man. It taught you a lot. Real life situations. We'd never forget that episode of Vanessa getting drunk, coming home thinking she was gonna pull a wool over her parents' eyes. So they decided to pull a wool. Like, it's certain things that show did, man. You know what I mean? However you feel about Bill right now.
Number 13. 1981, the blockbuster hit E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Steven Spielberg approached Mars, the confectionery company, to feature M&Ms as a small plot device in the film. The chief executives at Mars declined outright, and the producers behind E.T. were forced to go with their second choice, Hershey and their Reese's Pieces. When the film was released, Reese's Pieces were having dire sales, but then E.T. came along and sales of the candy triples, with reorders coming in at as many as 10 times a day for over 2 weeks. Mars, pissed at the missed opportunity, heavily implied they'd never even received an offer. Number 12. Kodak. We're in the age.
Y'all believe that? No, we don't believe y'all. We believe them. They gave y'all a pitch. Y'all declined, now y'all trying to save face. Out of here. Get out of here with that.
Of rapidly advancing technology, with the first digital cameras only appearing in the early 90s. But 15 years earlier, in 1975, Kodak made the world's first ever digital camera with a patent ready for mass production. But they did nothing, and so let their competitors invent it first. The reason? Kodak didn't want to destroy the film industry and subsequently damage their own company. But had they produced this revolution for mass market, you might have ended up with a Kodak brand smartphone. Instead, they went bankrupt in 2012 and fell into obscurity. Number 11. Schlitz beer. Back in the 70s, Schlitz was one of the biggest beer manufacturing companies in all of America, only
I've heard of Schlitz malt liquor, but I never heard of Schlitz beer before. Wait a minute.
Was one of the biggest beer manufacturing companies in all of America, only behind Budweiser. Then they made a fatal decision to cheapen the ingredients in order to produce beer faster, which for a while worked quite well. But then people began to notice that the beer would form floaties in the bottom, which congealed into thick mucus, and Schlitz didn't recall them even after they realized. Eventually they had to cave in, but not after 10 million cans had been shipped, crippling their finances and ending their juggernaut company not even 10 years later. Number 10. It was in the 90s that search engines on the internet were few and far between. You had Yahoo, Excite, and Lycos. Myself, I used Webcrawler before it got bombarded with ads and paid links when InfoSpace took over. The original owners of Webcrawler, called Excite, were actually offered all of Google for only $1 million, but Excite declined. To pour further salt into the wound, Google lowered their offer to $750,000, but they still weren't interested. Not even 10 years later, Google went public, and today they're earning $60 billion annually. Excite ended up getting merged with Ask.com in 2004.
A lot of people are kicking themselves who didn't invest in certain companies when they first went public, or before it got in on them, if you were allowed to, before they went public, before they IPO'd. A lot of people. Oh yeah. A lot of companies. Y'all know them. A lot. That whole .com. It was a lot of people. See, I was way too young to know what was going on, but yeah, I missed out on a lot of money, bro. I just look at my folks sometimes, my parents, and I'm like, what was y'all into back in the day, man? Why weren't y'all paying attention to what was going on in the world, man?
1859, back when shovels and picks were the tool of choice to dig up oil. Then along came Edwin Drake and his uncle, who invented the first ever oil drilling apparatus. When Drake approached some salt well diggers with his machine, they laughed and called him crazy. Very soon,
can you say cha-ching?
Soon after, diggers realized how much of a gold mine it was. They rushed in and became overnight millionaires. and poor Drake forgot to patent the machine, but luckily the state of Pennsylvania and oil barons paid him to express their gratitude. Number 8. Western Union, a big name in the communications industry during the late 1800s, with the president infamously scoffing at the idea of a telephone. For $100,000 he could have bought a patent that changed the world, but instead he wrote a letter calling the phone invention an electrical toy with no commercial possibilities. 2 years later, the president of Western Union realized his gigantic mistake, so spiteful that he employed Thomas Edison to outdo it, which never really happened. Number 7.
Can you imagine being a person that turned down the patent for the telephone? Bro, that'll make you almost want to just do yourself in. Stuff like that, and you wonder why people be committing suicide and stuff like that, bro. That stuff weighs heavy on some people, and they just can't take it. The telephone. People can't even live without phones now.
Microsoft Bob. Back before Windows 95, we had Windows 3.1 and this infamous piece of software known as Microsoft Bob. It was like Clippy from Microsoft Office, but 10 times more insulting. It displayed software icons as objects inside a house and was the software responsible for the text font Comic Sans. It might have been decent if it had not come out the same year as Windows 95, which incorporated an easy-to-use interface without the silly, dumbed-down experience. Number 6. There was a time when the corporate giant known as Apple worked in a garage, but when they went to Atari to sell their revolutionary personal computers, Atari said no. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, the founders of Apple, even said, hey, it's built from your parts and you can have the computer, just let us work for you. But still the answer was no. Apple now has a market value in the hundreds of billions of dollars, whereas Atari pretty much faded into obscurity. Number 5. 1962, a time before the Beatles were celebrities. They auditioned at Decca Records in London, and the executive of talent rejected their performance. He said to his manager, groups are out, and 4-piece groups with guitars are definitely finished.
Boy, was he wrong. Oh, was he wrong?
Unfortunately for him, over 2 billion Beatles albums sold all over the world.
See, that's the problem I have with these record execs, bro. They sit in the office all day. They don't have a pulse on what's going on in the streets. They don't know. They going based upon a formula. You know what I'm saying? A formula that works for them. No. You gotta know. You gotta have your hand on the pulse of the streets to know your finger, not hand. But anyway, on the pulse of the street to know what's going on, man. You sit in the office and you just, no, it ain't gonna work.
During Beatlemania. Number 4. It's hard to imagine that Coke has been around for over 100 years, but it was hard to foresee that when the producers of Coca-Cola introduced a new formula under the brand of New Coke, the backlash would be intense. But that's exactly what happened. Despite New Coke tasting fine, the emotional attachment built up over 100 years from a consistent brand was too deep, and customers exploded with fury. Within 3 months, New Coke was gone, and Coke Classic returned to enormously high sales thanks to the controversy. Some believe it to have been all planned, but it was probably just a happy coincidence. Number 3. A more recent one, the year 2000, when video rental stores were booming, Netflix offered itself to help Blockbuster sell their brand online. Blockbuster did not accept their offer and instead had a terrible 10 years while internet movies and TV shows became a thing. Eventually they had to file for bankruptcy in 2010. They could have bought Netflix for $50 million and instead their stubbornness made them crumble into nothing. Number 2.
You got to be able to at least try to set some money aside to invest in the future. But a lot of these companies got set in their ways, bro, and figured their way was the best way and the only way. And they weren't paying attention to where we were going, where we were headed, bro. I used to go to Blockbuster. I remember that. Having to go there, rent a movie, have it back. If not, you got these extreme late fees. So now you're hoping that they wipe out, at the beginning of the year, they wipe out your late fees so you can start back renting movies and do it all over again, create that cycle. I used to be, man, having to go in there and see if the game you wanted to rent is available. And if it's a new game, it's probably not. So you checking back a couple times a week, hoping the game come in there, and then you trying to rent it. I remember those days, bro. It was brutal.
1972, MASH became a surprise hit for 20th Century Fox, but then a couple of big stars dropped out after a few seasons and Fox panicked. Foreseeing the show would not have long to live, they decided to sell rights for old seasons to various local TV stations, earning themselves $25 million. But then 4 years later, a thing Fox thought extremely unlikely happened. The show was still massively popular. Each TV station grossed over $1 million per aired episode out of 168 of them, and Fox got nothing out of that. Number 1. A story about one of the few times when marketing fails and customer support wins. A war between Kmart and Walmart in the 1980s. When both companies decided to duke it out, Kmart launched an all-out publicity campaign.
I wonder if they're gonna talk about layaway. Is it layaway?
To raise public awareness of their store, and Walmart, without the funds to beat them, decided to focus on improving stock-to-shelf efficiency and immediate checkouts. Walmart obliterated Kmart's sales in the US simply from good customer service, and Kmart have been struggling to keep up ever since. That's it for this countdown. Have a good one!
I thought I was gonna talk about layaway because it was at one point in time Walmart I think they did away with layaway and they brought it back because that was still like keeping places like Kmart up and running there. I think it was the layaway. I can't really remember, but still, I have my personal issues with Walmart, so I ain't gonna say nothing. I might want a sponsorship one day. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna just bury that deep, but we got some history, me and that company. A lot of history, bro. A lot of history. It was something they did to Queen. But yeah, man, this is the 15 worst business decisions ever, bro. Y'all get at me in the comment section, man. Let me know what you think. Imagine being some of these companies, man, who passed up on such booming potential. Like, they didn't know, so you can't really beat yourself up about it, but boy, it hurts. It gotta hurt. Y'all let me know what you think. Leave a like, share the video, subscribe, and stick around and stay tuned, man. Till next reaction, I'm out. Peace, y'all. Stay solid. Hey.